As real estate agents, we see people make tons of mistakes when buying and selling real estate. And in this video, I'm going to break down some of the things that we have seen, the most common mistakes that buyers specifically have made. Now, sellers can learn from this as well too, but in this video, I'm going to strictly go through over helping 740 plus people go through their home buying and selling process. And just since the year 2020, I'm going to cover the 7 most common mistakes that we see people making. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Christian Stubbs. I'm team leader, owner of Onyx Homes, where we help people buy and sell all over Southern California. And this channel is all about Orange County. Our goal here is just to give you absolutely as much information as possible so that you can make a better decision with your next home purchase. So let's dive in with the first mistake that we see most common is that people just take way too long to actually go out and look at homes in person. Now, why do people do this? I think honestly is because we're so used to scrolling through our phone and buying stuff on Amazon. I don't know about you, but we've had like 7 packages show up in the last 24 hours, and it's just easy. It's simple, it's easy, and it's what we're used to. Think about Uber, think about making dinner reservations. You click one button, you have a dinner reservations. Think of Amazon, you click now and it's in your front porch in 3 hours. Well, buying a home is not really all that different in the research phase. You can scroll through Zillow, you can scroll through our website, you can go through 100 different websites and see homes that are for sale. Now, here's why this is a big mistake, is homes do not look the same in person as they do online. Think of it this way. If you were searching for a product on Amazon and you saw 10 different listings and one had really, really bad pictures, you're not gonna buy it, right? If it's a really bad description of what it looks like, if it's really dark and ugly pictures versus the exact same thing that's marketed very well, well, you're just gonna buy the marketed well one, which is what everybody does. That's the one that's gonna have all the 5-star reviews. Well, with real estate, there's a lot of missed opportunity there. And this is why there's so much competition for the houses that look good and are marketed well. Priced right doesn't hurt. So if you have a house, let me give you a real life example. When we list properties, we make bad properties or less desirable homes, let's say, look good. And we make good homes look great, and we make great homes look exceptional. So if you see a listing at a house that we are selling and you see that online, it's going to look better online than it does in person. I guarantee it. And if you see a house from an agent that maybe, like most agents, aren't so good at marketing, they are going to make a house likely look worse online than it actually does in person. So there is no benefit to not looking at homes in person. Now, I'm not saying don't look at homes online. You absolutely want to look at homes online. Let me share one more story on this. And the solution here is that we offer free touring services for all of our clients. So if you see a house you want to go tour, or you even kind of sort of maybe like it, set up a free tour. Just go on our website, ask for a free tour, reach out to us. You can go to All About Orange County, connected to our team, but just go look at properties, no cost, no obligation. That's the solution. But let me share one more story. The last 2 homes that I've moved into, we looked online, we did all of our research online, and my wife did not want to see the 2 houses that we actually moved into. She saw the pictures online. They were very poorly marketed. And I, being in the business, know what the actual houses were going to look like in person. And she was like, no, I don't want to see them. And I'm like, let's just trust me. Let's go look at them. And both times we walked in the home, she was like, oh my God, this is it, right? And totally forgot about how bad it looked online. And then when you get here, it looked way better. And go figure, both of them were severely below market value. So that's the lesson here. Mistake number 1 is people do not go look at properties in person enough. So you need to get out and do that with free touring agreements. Okay, that moves us on to mistake number 2 that we see way too often, is that people think all approvals from lenders are all the same. All lenders are not the same, and all approvals certainly aren't the same. Here is kind of your rule of thumb for this. There's 3 different types of approvals that you can get from a lender. The first one, I'll go from worst to best. So the worst one that you can get is what is called a pre-qualification. This means likely you have not submitted a loan application, and if you were ever to write an offer with a pre-qualification letter, we as agents would look at that and say that you haven't even started the process yet. That's how unserious you are. Number 2 is a pre-approval. Now, this has always been the gold standard, and what this really is, it means you filled out a loan application, they've run your credit, and they might have collected some documents, and they give you a pre-approval. And that's a pretty good idea of what you can afford, what you can qualify for. Afford is a whole different conversation. But that does not mean you're approved for a loan. Pre-approval does not mean you are approved for a loan. Huge misunderstanding here from so many people. Just assume that a pre-approval means they're lock solid good to go, and it absolutely does not. That brings us to our third type of approval, which is a fully underwritten approval. This means you have filled out a loan application, you've run your credit, you've supplied all of the documentation to the lender ahead of time. They have run that through underwriting, who is the person that actually makes the decision if you're qualified and if you're going to get approved for that loan. They ask for more information, and then you get a fully underwritten approval letter. That is what you are actually approved for, and then all you have to do is find a home that fits the requirements there as well too. So the third, if you were to rank these out, you have the pre-qualification is like you haven't even started. It honestly is almost a worse thing because it shows that you were not willing to actually get pre-approved. So if pre-qualification's all the way down here, pre-approval's probably right here, and fully underwritten's off the screen all the way at the top. That's how much better of a pre-approval it is. So we see this a lot where somebody will go and get a pre-qualification by talking to some online lender, maybe just filling out something online and getting a PDF that says you're approved. You're not. So taking the extra step to talk to somebody that actually knows what they're doing to help you out is the easy thing to do. And if you want to do this, an easy resource, and I'll link all this stuff in the description down below as well, is you can go to onyxhomes.com/finance or just go to Onyx Homes, the tab up the top. You'll have a mortgage calculator there, and I walk you through how to use that on a video. You can also drop your information to get connected with the lender that we do business with and trust with your services as well too. So that's the next one, is thinking that all approval letters are the same. Now, number 3 is a massive mistake that not everybody makes, but enough people that I wanted to throw it into the video, is we see buyers chasing perfection. And there's no perfect house. And the best example I ever saw of this was somebody built a custom home, and it was custom with, like, they had no budget, let's just say, meaning they could spend as much money as they wanted to. And I wasn't working with this client, but this was somebody telling the story of them building this home. And when it was done 3 years later, they finally got into the house, and once it was finished, they walked through, and mind you, they customized every aspect of the entire home. It's fully custom home. There were still 10 to 15 things that they wish they had done differently after it was done. And they designed it. They had architects, they did everything. So my point of saying this is, you're not going to walk into somebody else's home and see it perfect. Of 740 people that we've helped buy and sell real estate, like, that has happened maybe once, maybe twice. There's going to be things you don't like about it. There's going to be things you are. Here's the solution: is 1, to go look at things in person, because they don't look the same. We already talked about that. But the second portion is to focus on the things you cannot change. Think of location. There's a reason that the 3 most important things in real estate are location, location, location. Well, it's because you can't change it. It's the biggest reason. Also, think of orientation. For example, if a house is backed up to a slope and you have homes above you, is that something that you're not going to be able to change that? You might be able to get some more privacy, but if you want more, if privacy is super important to you, well, you might only look at homes that don't have houses directly behind you, right? As an example, you might look at something like a cul-de-sac. If you're on a really busy street versus a cul-de-sac, that's something you're not going to be able to change. On the flip side of that, if you walk into a home and it feels dark, well, coloring and staging furniture and art, like, there's things you can change. You can also make windows bigger. You can also blow out walls. There's stuff like that you can just change. There's the really silly stuff like countertops and paint color that are very easy to change. A backsplash can completely change a kitchen, as can countertops and your cabinet color. So these are the things you can change, which are things so many buyers get focused on the little stuff that they can change, and they might miss out on a really good opportunity because they just didn't feel like that kitchen layout was the best for them, right? When that stuff's very easily, maybe not very easily changeable, but in some circumstances it is, especially if we're talking about paint colors and cabinets and countertops, things you're gonna probably change at some point anyway. So solution here: 1, go look at homes in person, and 2 is look at the things you cannot change. You want those things to be absolutely on your hit list. Now, mistake number 4 that I see people making is understanding the power of terms. We talk about this at length in our buyer strategy session, and honestly, it is the number 1 reason why our clients are so successful in the market, is because we take terms so seriously with our clients. It's the same reason I mentioned in pre-approvals earlier that getting a fully underwritten approval letter is likely going to save you tens of thousands of dollars. Is it a little bit more of a pain in the neck ahead of time? Yes. Are you going to have to do all that same work anyway? Yes, absolutely. So doing that work ahead of time is going to have you get better terms. Now, if you're listening to this and saying, Christian, what do you mean by terms? Well, there's roughly 150 different negotiation points in any real estate deal. And most people only focus on one, which is the most important, but it's not the only important one, and that's price. So if you are negotiating only on price, you are basically bartering back and forth like you're at a swap meet. Definitely not the best way to get the best deal possible. The ideal situation of you as a buyer is you can do everything that the seller wants and you can make your offer look so good everywhere except for the purchase price. And we do this all the time through aggressive contingency timelines, through closing timelines, through other terms in the deal, so that we get our offers accepted all the time without just paying the most money for the house. On an extreme, you might have somebody with the best possible terms and a really low price. On the other end of it, you might have somebody with a really high price with terrible terms. And I will tell you from experience, sellers will choose certainty over just the highest number a lot of the time, way more often than you might think. We get a lot of hate comments on this. That's not true. Everyone just wants the most money. Well, it's not true. We do this for a living. I promise. We have, as a company, have done more deals than most people at 750 some odd people in the last 5 years. So we see it all the time where people will take less money for more certainty and to work with a buyer they actually want to work with. It's easy, prepared, confident, and an agent that knows what they're doing as well too. So that is number 4, is buyers not understanding terms. Mistake number 5 is very similar, but in a different lane. And this is buyers not understanding local markets. So a lot of buyers that we talk to read national headlines, national media headlines, and tie that directly into what's going on in the local real estate market. And that's just not the best way to do it. Our local market here in Southern California, and even more specifically in Orange County, is wildly different than the national averages. Not just alone that our price point is 3 times the national average. It is let me give a very real, even hyper example. So you could look at Southern California, which would be like LA, Inland Empire, Orange County, San Diego. That would be SoCal. And you could say that it is a slightly more aggressive market than or fast market, or more of a seller's market than the national average is closer to a buyer's market, or maybe even is a buyer's market. And you could even go sub from there is, for example, in Orange County, our average days on market is 10 days, meaning if a home goes for sale, it is on average going to go into contract in 10 days. Whereas 35 minutes to the east in the Inland Empire, it is more like 30 to 60 days for a home to go into contract. So 3 to 6 times longer for the home to actually sell. So that means it's way more competitive in Orange County than it is in Inland Empire right now. That's just at the time that I'm filming this. And that is a very hyper example. Now, you're also going to see that in neighborhood to neighborhood. You're also going to see that price point to price point. You're going to see that in home type to home type. So if you're in Orange County and you're looking at a 55 plus community, then it's going to be different. If you're looking at 2 stories only versus 1 stories, or townhomes versus condos, whatever it might be, there's nuance to all of that. And making sure you have real tactical advice on what's actually happening in that segment is incredibly important. And the solution for this is make sure you're talking to an agent that really knows what they're doing. And if you want to connect it with one of our agents to help you through this entire process, you can always go to the link in the description below or allaboutoc.com. We'd be happy to help you out. Drop your information and set up a time to talk to one of our agents. Now that leads me on to mistake number 6 that we see very, very often, is taking advice from wrong people. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting referrals and talking to people who have done what you're looking to do before, it's all really, really good advice. A really good thing to do. However, take all of it with a gigantic grain of salt. You would not believe the amount of people that I have talked to that are giving advice, or rather that we are working with a consumer that's either buying or selling. And they're taking advice from somebody who hasn't done a real estate deal in 20 or 30 years. It's pretty safe to say that the real estate market's changed a little bit in the last 20 to 30 years. It's pretty safe to say it's changed a lot in the last 2 years. So if you're talking to your friend who bought 2 years ago and they're telling you all the things, yes, you should know all of that, 1000%. But take it with a gigantic grain of salt that wherever they bought, in whatever market they bought in, is likely to be different than where you're looking right now. Which goes to my point on the last one, is your hyper local is really important. So if you had a friend that bought in Idaho last year, it's very different of what you're looking at buying here in Southern California. And if you had somebody that bought in LA versus Orange County, again, very different as well too. You should definitely take some of their advice, but also take that with the advice of a local expert, assuming that person actually knows what they're doing. Now, I want to double in on this really quick, and this is going to hurt some feelings if real estate agents are watching this, or yeah, this might hurt some feelings, is your hairdresser that has their real estate license has no idea what they're talking about. And the reason that I say this is more than 50% of all real estate agents did not sell anything in the last 12 months, meaning they have no idea what's going on. So if half of all real estate agents have not sold anything in the last 12 months, the ones that also have other jobs are likely in that 50%. So my point is, I really want to make sure that whoever it is you are listening to really knows what's going on in the local market now. I made a video a few weeks ago giving the example of how do you look at experience? Would you rather work with somebody that's been in the business for 30 years but hasn't sold anything in 3 years? Or somebody that's been in the business for 3 years and has sold a home every single day for this month, right? So somebody that hasn't done a deal in 3 years but has 30 years of experience, or somebody that's sold, let's say, 750 deals in the last 5 years. Which would you rather work with? And the reality is, your expertise now is, in my experience, way more valuable than length of time in the business. Now, an easy solution to make sure that you're taken care of here is to work with our team. I know this is obviously a shameless plug, but our agents absolutely know what we're doing. We do a deal almost every single day, which is an awesome stat. We have more 5-star reviews than most teams have ever done deals. And that just comes with, there's a reason why so many customers choose to do business with us. Part of it is because we believe in giving so much value up front, a lot of the times before we ever meet somebody. And the other end of it is we talk about our buyer strategy session, which leads me right into our mistake number 7, is so many buyers are treating home purchasing like they're buying on Amazon and not taking the time up front to protect themselves, make themselves confident and comfortable with the process, but make sure you know how to get the best deal possible. So we do this. The mistake here is a lot of buyers wait way too long to actually do it. What I'm talking about is what we call a buyer strategy session. Now, what I explain this is this is like an hour consultation of us going through everything you need to know about the home buying experience. We cover 3 things. We cover what our clients are doing to take advantage of the market. So we share what our actual clients are doing right now to take advantage of the market. 2, we talk about how we keep you protected through the entire process, because there's a million things going on. There's way more moving pieces than most people think. And we want to keep you protected so you don't lose your money. And the last thing is we want to make sure that you are actually getting the best deal possible under whatever the circumstances are. Even if there's 5 offers on a property, if there's no offers on a property, we know how to get the best deal possible. So we go through this with all of our clients, and it's something we just see so often. People shove off to the end. I'll do that when I find the right house. That's too late. The way that I explain this is when you're actually out ready to write an offer on a home and you find the right house, the only thing that you should be thinking about is this is the right house for me and my family. Not getting hit over the head with a 30-page contract and having to go get fully underwritten overnight in this big, massive panic at the very end. I would rather you just do that all ahead of time so that when you are searching for the home and you find it, you're just making sure it's the right house. So this is what we advise all of our clients do. If you want to set one up, like I said, go to allaboutoc.com, drop your information, and when we reach out, just ask to set up your buyer strategy session. We'd be happy to help you there. So as always, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in this next one.